On the quiet coast of Ocean Springs, Mississippi, hidden among the southern pines, stands a house that whispers the beginning of modern architecture in America. Designed in 1890 by Louis Sullivan, with the assistance of a young Frank Lloyd Wright, the Charnley-Norwood House is a deceptively modest structure that marked a radical break from Victorian design. With its bold horizontality, natural materials, and open interior flow, it would become a precursor to the Prairie Style and a foundational step in the evolution of American modernism. In the late 19th century, the Mississippi Gulf Coast was a tranquil escape for wealthy Midwestern families seeking respite from the industrial noise of cities like Chicago. Ocean Springs, with its pine forests, ocean breezes, and natural beauty, offered the perfect setting for a retreat. Simple, peaceful, and close to nature. It was in this setting that James Charnley, a wealthy Chicago lumberman and patron of progressive design, commissioned Louis Sullivan to build a summer residence that would reflect the spirit of the land, not the conventions of the past. Though credited to Louis Sullivan, the Charnley-Norwood House was also shaped by the hands and mind of his young apprentice, Frank Lloyd Wright. At the time, Sullivan was known for his towering Chicago skyscrapers, rich with ornamentation and symbolic grandeur. Yet here on the coast, he explored a radically different idea: restraint, simplicity, and horizontality. This project became a quiet yet powerful moment of architectural clarity, and it was here that Wright would absorb Sullivan's belief that form follows function, later using this philosophy to fuel his own Prairie School movement. The Charnley-Norwood House was a deliberate rejection of Victorian excess and classical ornament. Instead, Sullivan and Wright pursued a vision that was horizontal, not vertical. Emphasizing the flatness of the coastal land, the house stretches outward, not upward, reflecting the natural lines of the horizon. Integrated with nature. Built with locally sourced wood and open porches, the design invited breezes and light in, blurring the boundary between indoors and out. Functional before decorative. The structure speaks through form, proportion, and rhythm, not decoration. Ornament is minimized, replaced by material honesty and structural clarity. A proto-modernist vision. With its flat planes, clean detailing, and open interior, the house anticipates the architectural revolutions that would come decades later. Built in 1890, the Charnley-Norwood House is constructed primarily of longleaf yellow pine, with a central masonry fireplace core anchoring the open interior. A central core. At the heart of the plan is a massive chimney from which the rooms extend symmetrically, defining the home's spatial logic. Open plan living. Rooms flow naturally without rigid compartmentalization, and windows are placed to maximize cross-ventilation and daylight. Key considerations for life in the Gulf climate. Broad eaves and porches. Deep overhangs and screen porches provide shade, shelter, and connection to the outdoors, highlighting Sullivan's sensitivity to climate and comfort. Minimal ornamentation. Unlike Sullivan's commercial work, there are no elaborate carvings or decoration here. Instead, the design itself becomes the ornament, an embodiment of structural poetry, craftsmanship, and proportion. Every joint, window, and beam is thoughtfully proportioned, expressing an emerging architectural language that would come to define the modern American home. The Charnley-Norwood House is often overlooked in the grand narrative of modern architecture, yet it is here, in this modest coastal retreat, that we find the seeds of a revolution. It was a turning point in Louis Sullivan's career, an exploration of simplicity and domestic harmony. It offered Frank Lloyd Wright his first real canvas, laying the foundation for his Prairie designs. And it stands today as a testament to the idea that architecture can grow organically from the land, reflecting not tradition, but place, climate, and life itself. Painstakingly restored after hurricane damage, the Charnley-Norwood House now serves as a museum and architectural landmark, a reminder that even the quietest buildings can shape history. The Charnley-Norwood House is more than a historical footnote. It is a blueprint for modern American architecture, sketched not in grandeur, but in restraint and reverence for nature. If this journey inspired you, subscribe for more deep explorations into the architecture that shaped the world, and those who dared to imagine Among the elaborate mansions of Chicago's Gold Coast, one home speaks a different architectural language. The Charnley-Persky House, designed in 1891 by Louis Sullivan with contributions from a young Lloyd Wright, is a quiet revolution, a radical expression of form and function in an era still consumed by ornament. Though subtle in appearance, this house is a milestone of American architecture, a prototype of modern design that would influence generations to come. At the end of the 19th century, Chicago's Gold Coast had become a symbol of Gilded Age wealth and European aspiration. Affluent residents built homes modeled after French chateaux, Italian villas, and Gothic manors, reflecting power through historical style. It was within this setting that James Charnley, a lumber magnate and progressive thinker, envisioned something different, a home that would represent the future, not the past. He turned to Louis Sullivan, already known for reimagining skyscrapers, and gave him a simple brief: design a modern house. Commissioned in 1891, the Charnley-Persky House became one of the most significant collaborations between Louis Sullivan and his apprentice, Lloyd Wright, then just 24 years old. Sullivan, a vocal critic of European mimicry, believed in an authentic American architecture. He famously coined the phrase, "form follows function," and this house became one of the clearest early expressions of that principle in domestic architecture. Though the official design credit belongs to Sullivan, scholars now recognize that Wright played a major role in refining its vision, making this house a bridge between two generations of architectural revolutionaries. In an era of decorative excess, the Charnley-Persky House proposed a radical idea. A home could be beautiful through structure and proportion alone. Its design embodies several core ideas that would become hallmarks of modern architecture. A flat, geometric facade. The exterior is devoid of ornament, composed of smooth red brick, subtle wood detailing, and asymmetrical composition. This simplicity was a statement against the fussy facades of neighboring homes. Emphasis on horizontal lines. Horizontal bands in the brickwork and elongated window proportions create a grounded, organic feel, a motif that Wright would later adopt in his Prairie houses. Open interior layout. Instead of the compartmentalized Victorian floor plan, the house introduces a flowing spatial logic where rooms transition smoothly and are anchored by a central light-filled stair hall. Ornament as structure. Sullivan did not eliminate ornament. He absorbed it into the building's logic. Subtle detailing in wood, tile, and plaster reinforces rather than masks the architecture. An American original. The house is free of historical references. It doesn't imitate, it originates. It's an architecture of ideas, not imitation. Executed with precision and restraint, the Charnley-Persky House is as radical inside as it is outside. The central stair hall. Light streams down from a large skylight, illuminating the heart of the house. The vertical space contrasts beautifully with the horizontal exterior, creating an emotional and spatial center. Simplified interior geometry. Clean planes and linear wooden moldings define each room. There is no excess, just proportion, light, and rhythm. Built-in functionality. Furniture and storage are integrated into the architecture itself, one of Wright's signature innovations taking early root. Craftsmanship and materials. The home celebrates natural wood, brick, and plaster, each chosen for truth of expression, not decoration. Urban response. Designed for a narrow urban lot, the house makes brilliant use of space and light, private yet open, intimate yet expansive. The Charnley-Persky House is now recognized as a pivotal moment in American architectural history. It signaled the end of the Victorian era and the birth of modernist principles. It laid the groundwork for Wright's Prairie houses and 20th century modernism, and it remains a built manifesto for Louis Sullivan's ideals, brought to life with the creative energy of a young Lloyd Wright. Designated a Chicago landmark, the house now serves as the headquarters of the Society of Architectural Historians and remains a living classroom for the architecture of ideas. Its quiet facade may not shout, but its message is clear. Modern architecture begins here. The Charnley-Persky House is not just an architectural milestone, it's a vision of what was to come, built in a time that hadn't yet imagined it. If you've been inspired by this exploration of Sullivan and Wright's early genius, subscribe for more cinematic journeys through the world's most visionary art. Set among the historic homes of Hyde Park, Chicago, stands a house that marks a moment of transition in American architecture, a house that bridges the past and the future. Designed in 1897 by Frank Lloyd Wright, the Isidor Heller House is one of Wright's earliest experiments in rethinking the American home. With its bold vertical forms, flowing interiors, and organic detailing, it shows Wright breaking free from Victorian traditions and moving toward what would become the Prairie Style. In the final years of the 19th century, Hyde Park was a neighborhood of intellectual energy and architectural prestige. Located near the University of Chicago and the site of the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, it attracted progressive residents who wanted homes that expressed modern values. Isidor Heller, a cultured Hungarian-born businessman and art collector, was among them. In 1896, he commissioned a young but rapidly rising architect, Frank Lloyd Wright, to design a home that would reflect his taste for innovation, individuality, and elegance. For Wright, the Heller House was more than just a commission. It was a design laboratory. Still early in his independent practice, Wright was beginning to formulate the principles that would define his Prairie School. Unity, horizontality, flow, and integration with nature. Yet the Heller House reveals a young architect grappling with influence, still drawing from European and classical models, but already pushing beyond them with a radical vision for the American home. The Isidor Heller House is a hybrid of past and future, merging Wright's early interest in classical symmetry with his emerging architectural philosophy, monumental verticality. Unlike the horizontal stretch of his later Prairie houses, Heller's front facade rises boldly, featuring vertical piers and a tall central bay window. It hints at the influence of German and Viennese architecture, especially Otto Wagner and the Secessionist movement. Asymmetry and balance. Though symmetrical at first glance, the facade subtly breaks with tradition. The side entry, the projecting bay, and window groupings show Wright's skill at creating dynamic balance. Interior openness. Departing from the boxed rooms of Victorian houses, Wright's plan allows fluid movement between spaces, an early step toward his open floor plan philosophy. Integration of structure and ornament. Wright designed custom elements, including woodwork, art glass, and built-ins, ensuring that the house felt unified from facade to fireplace. Completed in 1897, the Heller House was built with a combination of brick, limestone, wood, and leaded art glass. It stands tall among its neighbors, asserting a new architectural voice. Tall central bay window. This dramatic feature becomes a focal point, bathing the interior stairwell in light while defining the street presence. Side entry and flowing plan. The entrance is located off-center, leading into a sequence of spaces that connect visually and spatially, a departure from rigid Victorian hierarchy. Ornament as architecture. Wright's early stained glass designs appear in the windows, geometric, nature-inspired, and abstract. The fireplace, custom cabinetry, and light fixtures reflect the unity of design and structure. Rear garden integration. Though more subtle than in later projects, Wright designed the house to extend into the rear yard, foreshadowing his belief in blending architecture with landscape. The Isidor Heller House is not quite Prairie and not entirely classical. It is a moment of transformation, a house where Wright began to invent himself. It shows Wright learning to balance vertical and horizontal elements, structure and ornament, public form and private space. It introduced themes, organic unity, open interiors, custom detail, that would become central to his mature work. And it remains one of Chicago's most architecturally significant residences, a milestone between two eras. The Isidor Heller House is more than a home. It's the sketch of an architectural revolution in motion. If this journey into Wright's early transformation inspired you, subscribe for more explorations of the buildings that shaped modern design and the minds that dared to draw outside the lines. In the heart of Pasadena, beneath the shade of California oaks, sits a house that feels less constructed than grown, a handcrafted symphony of wood, stone, and light. This is the Gamble House, designed in 1907 by architects Charles and Henry Greene. Commissioned by the heirs to the Procter & Gamble fortune, it is widely considered the pinnacle of American arts and crafts architecture, a home where nature, artistry, and function are in perfect harmony. At the turn of the 20th century, Pasadena had become a haven for wealthy Midwesterners seeking health, warmth, and tranquility. Amid this growing community, a regional style began to emerge, one that embraced natural materials, hand craftsmanship, and the indoor-outdoor lifestyle of Southern California. It was in this setting that the Greene brothers, originally trained in architecture and woodworking, began to shape what would become known as the California bungalow. The Gamble House was their ultimate expression. In 1907, David and Mary Gamble, part of the Cincinnati-based Procter & Gamble family, commissioned a winter residence in Pasadena. They chose Charles and Henry Greene not only for their growing reputation, but for their unique fusion of architecture and artisan-level detail. The Greenes took complete control of the design, from the structure and furniture to the light fixtures and textiles, creating a Gesamtkunstwerk, or total work of art, rooted in simplicity, unity, and craftsmanship. The Gamble House was born from a philosophy that celebrated the honesty of materials, attention to craft, and a deep respect for nature. The Greene brothers drew from a variety of inspirations, Japanese aesthetics. After visiting the Japanese pavilion at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, the Greenes were inspired by asymmetry, layered roofs, sliding panels, and the integration of garden and home. Arts and crafts ideals. Influenced by Gustav Stickley and English reformers like William Morris, they embraced a return to handmade beauty in opposition to the machine age. Natural integration. The house was designed to emerge from the earth, built from local wood and stone, aligned to the sun and shaded by trees, creating a natural sanctuary. Form follows function. Every element, rafters, pegs, overhangs, was both practical and expressive, celebrating how the house was built, not just how it looked. Completed in 1909, the Gamble House is a masterpiece not of luxury, but of intentional beauty, realized through extraordinary craftsmanship and material clarity. Exterior form. The low gabled roof lines, overhanging eaves, and exposed joinery reflect both Japanese influence and the bungalow vernacular. Cedar shingles and river stone root the building and its surroundings. The entry and great hall. Mahogany, teak, maple, and oak are hand-finished to expose their grain, creating warmth and richness. Light filters through leaded glass doors and clear-story windows, animating the space throughout the day. Joinery and details. Beams, pegs, and inlays are left visible, revealing how the house was constructed. This truth of materials honors the skill of the craftsman and the integrity of design. Custom interiors. The Greenes designed built-in seating, light fixtures, cabinetry, and even rugs. Nothing is superfluous. Everything serves a purpose and a place. The sleeping porches. Responding to the California climate and health ideals of the era, the house includes open-air porches for night rest, enhancing the connection to nature. The Gamble House is more than a residence. It is a manifesto of American architecture rooted in simplicity, nature, and artisan excellence. It defined the California arts and crafts movement. It influenced generations of West Coast architects, from mid-century modernists to contemporary eco-designers. And it remains a living classroom, preserved in near-original condition as a gift to the public. In every timber, joint, and window pane, the Gamble House reminds us that true modernity is not about novelty, but about honesty, harmony, and human touch. The Gamble House is not just a symbol of architectural mastery. It is a reminder that the best buildings don't overpower the landscape. They belong to it. If this journey into American craftsmanship inspired you, subscribe for more cinematic stories from the world's most meaningful architecture and the minds that shaped it. Amid the traditional architecture of early 20th century Rochester, New York, one home extends with quiet defiance and elegant clarity. This is the Edward E. Boynton House, a 1908 masterpiece of Frank Lloyd Wright's Prairie Style, one of the few Wright-designed homes in the Northeast, and among the earliest to bring his radical vision beyond the Midwest. In the early 1900s, Rochester was a prosperous industrial city, shaped by progress but still architecturally grounded in European traditions. Enter Edward E. Boynton, an industrialist and progressive thinker. He sought a new kind of home for himself and his teenage daughter, a home that would reject the past and embrace the modern. For this bold project, he turned to a rising architect from Chicago, Frank Lloyd Wright. Wright didn't just design a structure. With Boynton's full support, he crafted a total work of art, complete with custom furniture, light fixtures, rugs, stained glass, and landscape design. Boynton's faith in Wright's vision enabled the architect to fully express the Prairie Style in a new regional context, one that challenged the norms of Northeastern residential design. The Boynton House is a crystallization of Wright's Prairie principles, a response to the flat plains of the Midwest, adapted to an urban plot in New York. Horizontal emphasis. The structure hugs the earth with broad overhangs, low-pitched roofs, and strong horizontal lines. Open interior flow. Spaces flow into one another, living room, dining room, and entry forming a continuous, light-filled experience. Connection to nature. Ribbon windows, terraces, and natural materials pull the outside in, reinforcing harmony with the environment. The hearth as the core. A massive central fireplace acts as the heart of the home, both spiritually and spatially. Unified design language. Wright's custom furniture and decorative elements follow the same rhythm and geometry as the architecture itself. Built with brick, stucco, and oak, the Boynton House showcases exceptional craftsmanship and material harmony. Exterior form. The home's symmetrical yet layered facade extends outward in a gesture of invitation and protection. Custom interiors. Built-in seating, shelving, and low-slung furniture create a seamless, coherent environment, free of clutter and full of intention. Stained glass windows. Wright's geometric art glass designs modulate sunlight and animate the space with color and shadow. Material warmth. Every surface, wood, plaster, glass, was chosen to balance durability with organic beauty. Structural integrity. Hidden steel reinforcements allowed for the open spans and cantilevered roofs that became Wright's signature. The Boynton House is one of the few surviving Prairie-style homes in the northeastern United States, and one of the earliest to bring Wright's vision beyond the Midwest. It proved that modern architecture could thrive in new regional settings. It laid groundwork for the American suburban home of the 20th century, and it stands today as a living example of design integrity, innovation, and artistic unity. Painstakingly restored in recent years, it remains a private residence and a national historic landmark, a quiet monument to an audacious architectural ideal. The Edward E. Boynton House is not just a piece of architectural history, it's a work of livable sculpture, where every wall, window, and chair tells a story of purpose, beauty, and modern thinking. If this journey into one of Frank Lloyd Wright's lesser-known masterpieces inspired you, subscribe for more cinematic explorations of architecture that changed how we live. On the quiet streets of Chicago's Hyde Park, not far from the University of Chicago, stands a home that redefined how Americans live, build, and design. This is the Robie House, completed in 1910 and considered the crown jewel of Frank Lloyd Wright's Prairie Style. With its low-slung roofs, flowing interior spaces, and deep connection to the landscape, the Robie House wasn't just a home, it was a revolution in residential architecture. In the early 1900s, Hyde Park was a hub of intellectual energy and quiet affluence. Located on Chicago's South Side, it was home to scholars, entrepreneurs, and the emerging American professional class. This urban yet leafy neighborhood offered space for experimentation, and Frank Lloyd Wright found the perfect canvas in a narrow corner lot on South Woodlawn Avenue. Here on the flat open plains of the Midwest, Wright conceived a new kind of architecture, one that would echo the horizon, embrace the sight, and reflect a distinctly American spirit. Commissioned by Frederick C. Robie, a successful young businessman and bicycle manufacturer, the house was to be a modern family residence for his wife and children, open, private, and suited to contemporary life. At the time, Wright was at the height of his Prairie-style period, and the Robie House offered him the chance to fully realize his philosophy of organic architecture. It would be one of Wright's most complete designs, from structure to furniture, windows to rugs, every element speaking the same language. The Robie House was the manifesto of a new domestic ideal. Wright rejected the boxy Victorian house with its enclosed rooms and vertical emphasis. In its place, he offered a horizontal, flowing, unified space. The Prairie Ideal. Inspired by the vast, flat landscapes of the Midwest, the house stretches low to the ground, its long lines and overhanging eaves blending with the earth. Open-plan living. The first floor is divided not by walls but by changes in ceiling height, furniture, and light. The living and dining areas flow seamlessly into one another. Total design. Wright designed not just the building, but the furnishings, art glass windows, lighting, and textiles, ensuring a coherent aesthetic throughout. Privacy and transparency. While the house is open and airy on the inside, its solid brick walls and elevated plan shield it from the street, a sanctuary of openness within a secure shell. Integration with nature. Every element, from the horizontal brickwork to the natural materials, emphasizes harmony with the surroundings. Constructed between 1909 and 1910, the Robie House was both an engineering marvel and a work of art, structural innovation. Its bold cantilevered roofs, extending up to 10 feet without support, were made possible by an advanced steel-reinforced concrete frame hidden within the masonry. The hearth as heart. At the center of the home lies a massive central fireplace, anchoring the living spaces like the trunk of a tree, with rooms branching outward. Custom art glass. The windows feature Wright's signature geometric stained glass, designed to filter and modulate light, creating patterns that shift throughout the day. Materials and craftsmanship. The home is built of Roman brick with longer, thinner proportions that emphasize horizontal lines. Inside, white oak woodwork, built-in benches, and elegant plasterwork reinforce the unity of design, furnishing the vision. Even the tables, chairs, rugs, and light fixtures were Wright originals, creating one of the earliest and most refined examples of a total work of art in modern architecture. Though Frederick Robie would live in the house for only a short time, the impact of the Robie House is timeless. It is considered the culmination of the Prairie Style and one of the most important works of American residential architecture. It influenced generations of architects around the world, from the Bauhaus to today's minimalist designers. And in 1997, it was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site, along with other Wright masterpieces. The Robie House stands not just as a home, but as a vision of how architecture can shape the way we live, think, and connect to the world around us. The Robie House is more than a building. It's a living blueprint of modern living where space, structure, and spirit align. If this exploration inspired you, subscribe for more cinematic journeys through the world's most visionary architecture and the creative minds who dared to reshape it. Amid the rolling hills of rural Wisconsin, where the land breathes with quiet rhythm, stands a structure shaped not by fashion, but by philosophy. This is Taliesin, the home, workshop, and spiritual haven of Frank Lloyd Wright. At its heart lies the Taliesin Studio, built in 1911, a laboratory for architectural ideas that would revolutionize the 20th century. More than a workplace, it was a sanctuary of thought, invention, and reinvention. Taliesin rises from the driftless area of Wisconsin, a region untouched by glaciers, defined by soft hills and limestone outcrops. It's not a coincidence. Wright chose this place not only for its beauty, but for its personal history. These were the lands of his maternal family, the Lloyd Joneses, Unitarian thinkers and farmers. Here in 1911, after a scandalous personal upheaval and departure from Oak Park, Wright sought to begin anew, on his own terms, close to nature and far from societal judgment. Taliesin was born as an act of independence, and at its center he built the studio, where his architectural revolution would take form. Following his departure from Chicago and his partnership at Adler and Sullivan, Wright sought refuge and freedom. Taliesin was his self-commissioned manifesto, a home and studio built for love, for art, and for a new architectural language. Wright didn't just draw here, he lived his philosophy, designing every beam and terrace to grow from the hillside to blur the line between shelter and landscape. The Taliesin Studio was not static. It evolved as Wright did. Burned and rebuilt twice, it reflects his belief in architecture as a living organism. Key principles guided his thinking. Organic architecture. The studio nestles into the hill, not upon it. Stone walls mirror local geology. Low eaves mimic the horizon. Wright's ideal, of the hill, not on it. The studio as workshop. Wright designed it for making, not for display. Light floods from large, clear-story windows. Drafting tables line the walls. Materials are raw and expressive. Spatial flow. Spaces are intimate yet open. Circulation follows natural curves with no rigid symmetry, mirroring the flow of thought itself. Material truth. Limestone from the site, hand-hewn wood, exposed beams. Materials were not hidden or disguised, but celebrated in their honesty. The studio was handcrafted like one of Wright's drawings, precise yet poetic. The drafting room. A rectangular workspace lined with deep-set windows and warm wood surfaces. Light moves across the space with time. Wright believed in designing for the day's rhythm. Wright's desk and archive. His own workspace faced the landscape, not the room, emphasizing reflection over oversight. Here, designs like falling water and the Guggenheim Museum would begin. Details in proportion, built-in shelving, hidden ventilation, and layered textures express the harmony Wright championed. Nothing was arbitrary. Everything followed a unified rhythm, connected to life. Just steps away from his residence, Wright could move fluidly between family, studio, and nature. The architecture fostered creative immersion. The Taliesin Studio is not just where Wright worked, it's where he dreamed, rebuilt, and redefined architecture. It birthed some of the most radical projects in American history. It served as the headquarters of the Taliesin Fellowship, where students learned by living and making. And it remains today a monument to the architectural mind in motion, anchored in landscape, driven by vision, and sustained by craft. More than a building, it is a living philosophy in stone and sunlight. The Taliesin Studio reminds us that architecture is not just a profession, it's a way of life, shaped by where we are, how we feel, and what we believe. If this journey into Frank Lloyd Wright's creative sanctuary inspired you, subscribe to Space, Shape, and Scale for more cinematic stories of architecture that transform the world. In a quiet neighborhood of Minneapolis, tucked among conventional early 20th century homes, stands a residence that speaks with a different voice, low, horizontal, and profoundly American. This is the Purcell-Cutts House, designed in 1913 by William Gray Purcell and George Grant Elmsley, a brilliant, accessible expression of the Prairie School movement. While Frank Lloyd Wright pioneered the form, Purcell and Elmsley humanized it, making good design not a luxury, but a possibility for the growing middle class. In the early 20th century, Minneapolis was a city of transformation, prosperous, progressive, and full of architectural potential. It was in this atmosphere that William Purcell, newly returned from working under Louis Sullivan, set up a practice with George Grant Elmsley, Sullivan's chief draftsman. Together, they believed that architecture should serve everyday people, not just industrialists and the elite, and that the Prairie Style could be more than monumental. It could be livable, elegant, and democratic. The house was originally built for William Purcell himself, his wife Edna, and their young son. It was meant not only as a home, but also as a statement of purpose, a built manifesto of what modern domestic architecture could be. Unlike Wright's sprawling prairie mansions, the Purcell-Cutts House was designed on a modest urban lot, challenging the architects to be creative with space, light, and budget. The result was a house that would influence countless modern designs, from mid-century modern to today's minimalist ideals. At the heart of Purcell and Elmsley's design was a commitment to the ideals of honesty, harmony, and craftsmanship. Their architectural philosophy emphasized horizontal emphasis and integration with nature. The house stretches outward, not upward, wide eaves, low-pitched roofs, and a plan that wraps around nature reflect the Midwestern prairie landscape. Open interior flow. Instead of closed-off rooms, the interior flows from space to space, Light-filled, connected, and psychologically expansive. Art glass and natural light. Custom-designed windows feature colored geometric art glass that filters daylight into changing patterns, enriching the space while preserving privacy. Crafted simplicity. Wood, stucco, and tile are expressed with care, but without ostentation. Every joint, detail, and curve reinforces the idea that form should follow function, but also delight the senses. Democratic design. Purcell and Elmsley believe beauty should be for everyone. Their approach stripped away classical ornamentation in favor of clean lines, warmth, and human scale. Though modest in size, the Purcell-Cutts House is a masterclass in detail and livability. Exterior form. The house hugs the earth, defined by its stucco walls, broad horizontal lines, and banded windows. It both stands out and blends in, subtle yet modern. The living room. A double-height space filled with filtered light, anchored by a central fireplace and surrounded by built-in seating, bookshelves, and stained glass screens. It feels warm, open, and timeless. Dining and service areas. Thoughtfully scaled and connected, every element, from cabinetry to light fixtures, was designed as part of a whole. Function and aesthetic are inseparable. Bedrooms and balcony. Upstairs rooms are compact but filled with charm, light, and craftsmanship. A built-in balcony connects the upper level with the living space below, reinforcing spatial dialogue and openness. Integrated furniture. Most furniture was designed by the architects themselves, maintaining unity in materials, proportions, and rhythm throughout the house. Today, the Purcell-Cutts House is considered one of the finest surviving examples of Prairie School architecture. It refined Frank Lloyd Wright's ideas into a more intimate and accessible form. It anticipated the mid-century modern movement, with its emphasis on openness, light, and clean design. It served as a model for modern middle-class housing, proving that great design could be both affordable and meaningful. Now managed by the Minneapolis Institute of Art, the house is preserved not as a relic, but as a living classroom, where visitors can experience the power of space, proportion, and quiet beauty. The Purcell-Cutts House is more than a beautiful home. It is an expression of a democratic ideal that architecture can serve all, not just the privileged. If you've been inspired by this journey into prairie design, subscribe for more cinematic stories exploring architecture that shapes how we live and how we dream. In the cities of Caguas, Humacao, and San Juan, three houses tell stories that live not only in their walls, but in their architectural gestures. Casa Corber, Casa Roig, and Mansion Giorgetti. Three works that emerge as reflections of an era of change, where colonial tradition clashes with tropical modernity, and where the art of building is also the art of resisting time. The 1920s. Caguas is growing amid the sugar boom and U.S. influence. A new type of housing emerges for a bourgeoisie eager to display progress without detaching from the Caribbean landscape. Designed by Antonin Nechodoma, a Czech architect based in Puerto Rico and influenced by Frank Lloyd Wright. The house was commissioned by German entrepreneur Otto Korber and became one of the first expressions of the Prairie Style on the island. Nechodoma adapted the horizontal, open, and landscape-oriented principles of the American Midwest to the Caribbean context. Broad eaves, cross-ventilation, a strong connection to vegetation, and ornamentation integrated into structural design. Resistant materials were used: reinforced concrete, sloped wooden roofs, and warm-colored geometric stained glass. The house is introspective, contained, yet maintains a relationship with its immediate surroundings. It's designed to inhabit the tropics, not dominate them. Casa Roig Humacao, 1920s, a city defined by the Roig family's sugar mill. Here, residential architecture becomes a symbol of economic power, but also of cultural openness. Commissioned by Antonio Roig, this house was also designed by Nechodoma, further consolidating his vision of a modern, climate-sensitive, and aesthetically integrated architecture. In Casa Roig, the cruciform plan, fragmented volumes, and deep terraces show an evolution of the Prairie Style. Natural ventilation, semi-covered galleries, and the fluid transition between indoor and outdoor spaces reveal a strategically environmental mindset. The furniture was designed by Nechodoma himself, integrating architecture and applied arts. The use of fine woods, decorative latticework, and horizontal compositions reveal harmony between functionality and elegance. It is a modern house, yet deeply Caribbean. Mansión Giorgetti, Fernández Juncos Avenue, Puerta de Tierra, an area that in the early 20th century served as a symbolic border between colonial San Juan and Republican modernity. Here stands the Giorgetti Mansion, built around 1910 to 1915 for the prominent Giorgetti family of Corsican descent. The house rises as an emblem of social status, absorbing influences from European neoclassicism and the Beaux-Arts style, but reinterpreted through a Creole lens. Its design aspires to represent stability, permanence, and cosmopolitan taste. Corinthian columns, decorative pediments, and ornamental symmetry define the facade. However, the interior incorporates adaptations to the tropics: internal courtyards, large windows, wooden lattices, and high ceilings. The mansion was built with masonry and steel, with finishes in marble, wrought iron, and European stained glass. Its design reflects a balance between the desire for ostentation and the need for climatic comfort. A tropical palace with continental aspirations, embedded in a colonial city in transition. Casa Corber, Casa Roig, and the Giorgetti Mansion are not just residences. They are manifestos of prairie architecture in the Caribbean. Examples of how an architect, deeply influenced by and a close student of Frank Lloyd Wright's prairie philosophy, adapted it to the tropics and to the Caribbean way of living of the era. Testimonies in stone, wood, and concrete of how architecture can be modernist without breaking from its surroundings. These are works that belong both to Puerto Rico's past and to its future. In their shadows, you can still feel the breeze of change. In their walls, you can still hear the echoes of architects who saw beyond their time. And in their forms, the art of inhabiting the Caribbean with vision and purpose. Architecture that narrates, spaces that transcend, forms that define our history. If this journey through three of the Caribbean's most visionary residences inspired you, subscribe to Space, Shape, and Scale for more cinematic stories about architectural turning points, radical designs, and the places where culture changed shape. What if justice didn't rise like a marble temple, but grew from the soil, like wheat from the prairie? We often imagine courthouses as cold fortresses, carved in stone, distant, commanding. But once, just once, a courthouse was built like a poem. Born not from the empire, but from the earth, in the heart of the Midwest, where the land lies open and the sky goes on forever, rises a building that doesn't dominate its landscape, it belongs to it. This is the Woodbury County Courthouse of 1918, a structure unlike any civic building before it. No Roman pillars, no Greek porticos. Instead, broad horizontals, flowing lines, prairie-born colors. This courthouse did something bold. It refused to look back, and instead dared to look forward. It asked, what does justice look like when it's American? Welcome to Sioux City, Iowa, a bustling industrial hub on the Missouri River. In the early 1900s, it was a city full of ambition, a place caught between frontier past and modern promise. By this time, the Prairie School of Architecture was making waves. Led by Frank Lloyd Wright, it was a new American style, defined by long lines, low roofs, and buildings that hugged the land. Churches, homes, even libraries embraced the style. But no one had ever applied these principles to a courthouse, a space of law, of civic identity, until now. Woodbury County wanted a courthouse that spoke to the future, not to Rome, not to London, not to Washington, D.C. They chose William L. Steele, a former apprentice of Louis Sullivan, a contemporary of Wright, and a man ready to experiment. But he didn't do it alone. He invited the Minneapolis firm Purcell and Elmsley, famous for their expressive ornament and modernist ideals. Together, they saw this project as something more than construction. They saw it as a revolution in public architecture, and what they built was nothing short of that. In 1918, the Woodbury County Courthouse was completed. It became the largest Prairie-style public building ever constructed, a courthouse that didn't wear the robe of imitation, but dressed in a new modern voice. The Prairie School wasn't about decorating buildings. It was about expressing truth. Truth in materials, truth in form, truth in function. Long horizontal lines echoed the endless horizon. Low, sheltering roofs connected buildings with the human scale. Ornament wasn't for show, it was rhythm, like music in stone. This courthouse doesn't tower, it rests like a home for justice. Its massive form stretches wide, not tall, rooted, grounded, embedded in the soil of Iowa. Bands of windows run across its facade, not letting light trickle in, but flooding the interior. At every entrance, you're greeted by terracotta figures, not gods or emperors, but abstracted symbols of justice, progress, and civic duty. The artist? Alfonso Yanelli, a frequent Wright collaborator. Here he carved figures that feel modern, alive, as if the very ideals of democracy were stepping forward. Step inside, and you don't feel like you're in a temple of power. You feel like you've entered a space of inclusion. The building's interior unfolds like a story. There are no intimidating chambers, no marble walls meant to overwhelm. Instead, light, warm tile, colored glass, wood, metal, murals. John Norton's murals stretch across the ceilings and walls, depicting civic virtues in vivid color, not as legends, but as living truths. Every office, every courtroom, every corridor was arranged to serve people first, not just judges or politicians. This wasn't a courthouse for elites. It was a courthouse for farmers, for merchants, for the working class. It spoke their language: American, modern, proud. The building's exterior uses regional sandstone and granite, carefully selected to blend with the palette of the plains. Rich bands of terracotta ornamentation weave symbols of progress and justice, not as afterthoughts, but as part of the architectural grammar. The metalwork, custom. The light fixtures, hand-designed. Even the typography carved into stone was meticulously planned. And when you walk beneath the skylights, you're not just walking through a civic space. You're walking through a belief that justice should be transparent, that government should be accessible, that beauty and function belong together. The Woodbury County Courthouse remains the greatest public triumph of the Prairie School. It was dedicated in 1918 at a cost of $850,000, a staggering sum for the time. In 1973, it was named a National Historic Landmark, ensuring that its message would echo through history. Though William L. Steele never achieved Wright's fame, his legacy endures in this monument to democratic space. Purcell and Elmsley never again built something on this scale, and soon after, the Prairie School faded, giving way to steel, glass, and corporate modernism. But this courthouse still stands, firm-rooted, radical, a place where law lives not in marble, but in the prairie soil of the American Midwest. If architecture is the art of space, this is one of America's greatest canvases. If you believe that buildings have stories, and that those stories still matter, subscribe to Space, Shape, and Scale. We explore the past to illuminate the present, one iconic structure at a time. New episodes every week, more myths, more masterpieces, more meaning.